are comfortable with a butterfly pose, so Baddha Konasana, bound angle with the bottoms of the feet together, knees out. Or, and this is not a fit for everyone, because we're doing crown chakra today, another option is either half lotus, where you're bringing the heel of one foot up to the opposite hip, and be on either leg. I don't know that full lotus is a fit for me today, and I'm not sure if it's a fit for anyone else, but full lotus can also be an option as well. Once you have whatever is comfortable for your centering pose, notice the parts of the body that are touching the ground, particularly if the tailbone, the base of the spine, those sits bones at the bottom of the pelvis are near the ground. Really think about anchoring as if your tailbone is weighted. And then the vertebrae of the spine stack in their natural curves, one up all the way to the skull, with the crown of the head energetically pulling you up towards the ceiling. We'll talk a lot about the energy out of the crown and the energy from the earth weighting the tailbone today. And once you have the wiggles out, bring stillness to the body. Closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And then take an assessment. What you feel today physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. If you haven't yet, bring a light seal to the lips if that's comfortable for you. It's the breath coming. And then leaving. It's comfortable for you. Lengthening those inhales a count or two longer. Slowing the exhale, possibly even the exhale a count or two longer. As you do, deepening those inhales, lengthening them out. Notice if you feel the sensation of the side ribs spreading apart on the inhale. And then on the exhale, side ribs get back together. Seeing the sensation, front of the chest expanding forward, the collarbones lifting as the shoulders melt away. Using the breath throughout class today to move us, connecting the breath with movements. Purpose is to bring more intention and mindfulness to the next 55 minutes. Keeping your mind, your attention, your focus on your breath is not a fit for you today for whatever reason. A couple other suggestions to anchor your mind could be to focus on a white bright light, particularly a bright light that would be energetically pulling the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Possibly even imagining that white light running energy up and down the spine. Crown chakra is associated with our sense of unity and connection. Sense of connection to things outside of ourselves, things bigger than ourselves. So if it resonates with you, even setting an intention before you start can be an anchor for your mind. Something along the lines of unified or connected. Taking on the exhale, lowering the chin towards the chest. Then regardless of how you are currently situated, whether it's half lotus, full lotus, easy seated, Adho Konasana, facing, extending one leg out at a time, lengthening the legs for a moment or two, maybe rolling the ankles side to side. Letting the blood flow back into all of the joints that might have been held at an angle for a moment. And then in any way that makes sense to you, we're going to swing our legs around behind us so that we can sit on our knees. So coming to the knees and then setting yourself up into heroes, seated heroes pose. So you're going to have the seat on the heels. If this is not a fit for you for any reason, you're going to choose a different seated position. And I even encourage you to perhaps maybe use a chair for now, just for what we are doing the bellows breath movement. So bringing the elbows close to the waist, making just a light fist. Eyes can remain closed for this if it helps to really focus on that energy moving in and out with the breath. Taking a lengthened inhale and exhale to prepare lips slightly sealed. And then on the next inhale, lengthen inhale, reach the arms up, extend the fingers, exhale forcefully through the nose. Again, inhale and lift up. Two more. Lower the hands down to the legs. Eyes closed if that's comfortable. Notice the breath. Notice any sensations, either in the mind or in the body. We're going to do another round of 5. If this round created any lightheadedness, anything that didn't feel right or good, I'd like you to stay with your natural inhale and exhale. Otherwise, we'll bring those elbows again to the waist, taking a lengthened inhale and exhale to prepare. And 5 rounds of Akistra. Inhale, lift, exhale forcefully. And then hands back. Take an inhale, eyes open. And then exhale, we'll give our feet and legs a bit of a break again, coming over to the side and extending the legs long. We're going to keep the left leg extended, toes up to the ceiling. We're going to draw the right knee towards your chest. Now, if you notice right away, you start to tip back as you try to bring the knee forward. Think more about keeping the spine lengthened, energy out the crown of the head. And so the knee might not come up as close, and that's fine. And then right hand on the right knee, we're just going to start to draw circles. 2 or 3 one direction, and then 2 or 3 the other direction, warming up that hip. Attention to the joint, getting the synovial fluid flowing. And then using that right hand, either shin, ankle, outside of the foot, or a big toe grab, any of those work. You're going to start to tilt yourself back, keeping the spine in its natural curve. So we're not slumping over, but keeping the chest lifted. We're going to lean back. You're welcome to extend the leg any amount, so you can keep the knee completely bent or somewhat bent or lengthen it out. And then bring the left hand over towards the left hip and look over the left shoulder. Take another breath here. On the exhale, we're going to swap hands. This time, the left hand comes to the right foot, ankle, shin, anywhere along the leg, and the right hand comes back towards the right hip and gaze over the right shoulder. Take a lengthen inhale, and the exhale lowers everything. Same thing on the left leg, bringing the left hand to the left knee, starting drawing the circles with the knee. 2, 3, 4, one direction, and then reverse it. And then drawing that closer to you, keeping the spine lengthened again. This time the left hand comes to ankle, foot, toe, anywhere along the shin. And knee stays as bent as you want it to, or extend out. Your right hand comes to the right hip and look over the right side. Hold for a cycle of breath. And then exhale. This time, right hand comes to left foot. Left hand comes back behind you and twist over to the left. Keep the breath flowing. And then your exhale draws everything back towards center, lower the foot down. And then, one more time, swinging the legs around. I told you it would be a little bit of back and forth, just to start. This time, I'd like you to tuck all of the toes into the mat. You're welcome to stay right here and keep the hands underneath you and just notice the sensation of opening up all of the spaces between the toes. If coming back with the seat towards the heels is still accessible to you, that might give you a little bit different sensation, usually a little bit deeper. Otherwise, hands can come to the legs and sit up on those feet. So I listened to a podcast this weekend, and I learned that there are 33 joints in each foot. So between our 2 feet, we have 66 joints, and there's debate between how many total joints there are in the body, but generally about 250 joints in the adult body. So about a fourth of our joints are all in our feet. And there's a lot of nerve endings in there too. So take one more inhale here, taking a break whenever you need to, tapping out the toes. And then exhale, forward. Tap out the toes, let the toes wiggle, ankles shift back and forth. And then this time, tucking the toes in again, walking yourself all the way up to standing on your knees. If you need extra padding on your knees, please go ahead and either add a blanket or fold the mat over. Going to take an inhale and lift the arms up, and then exhale the right hand either back to the low back or to the right thigh. Gaze up towards the left hand, and as you do, think about pulling those bottom front ribs down and in, and think about a rainbow of energy from your tailbone, curving up your spine and shooting out through your crown of the head. If you would like to, and it feels appropriate for you to go just a bit deeper, maybe bring those right fingertips to the right heel. Last breath here. Exhale the left hand to the left hip, right hand works its way back up, and then we'll come into an angry cat on the exhale, rounding the back up, pulling the belly button towards the spine. Inhale to push the floor away, up to a stand, lifting the right arm up, gazing towards the right hand. You're welcome to stay right here. Otherwise, again, imagining that rainbow of energy from the tailbone up and out the crown of the head. If you choose, left hand comes to the low back, or to the back of the left thigh, or fingertips to the left. So pulling those bottom front ribs down and in, tailbone weighted towards the floor. Take it in here. Exhale, you're going to bring that hand back to the low back, right hand comes to the hips, and then all the way forward into that knee. Take another inhale into cow pose, and then exhale into eight. And then keeping your hands where they are. If you're going to go into down dog, I typically advise those nice wide starfish, plugging the base knuckle of each finger in, toes pressed into the mat. If you want to stay here in tabletop, go ahead. Otherwise, exhale, lift the knees. And as you come into that first downward facing dog, pedal it out, alternating heels towards the floor, shifting hips side to side, lengthening the tailbone towards the ceiling, and then eventually bring some stillness and breathe here. And then if you are noticing uncomfortable, even painful pressure in the shoulders or the wrists, back down to tabletop, or a couple options, especially if your heels are more than a couple inches away from the floor, walk the feet forward and or out to the edges of the mat. Widening the feet and bringing them closer can take pressure off the shoulders and wrists. Otherwise, we're going to take an inhale, come to the tippy toes, and as you exhale, pivot both feet so the heels go over to the left. Maybe the heels land down, maybe they don't, but you're going to start to feel that sensation along the IT band, especially on the left leg. Inhale up to the tippy toes, pass through center, pivot the heels over to the right. And then same thing on this side, feeling that lengthening from the left armpit all the way to the left hip also. Inhale up to the tippy toes, exhale, lower the heels down. Taking an inhale, bring the gaze towards the hands. As you exhale, you're going to walk the hands, one handprint at a time, all the way to your toes, landing in a forward fold at the back of your mat. Hands to the shins, inhale, extend the spine, and then exhale, forward. Pressing into the bottoms of the feet. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time. Inhaling, lifting the torso up. The arms dangle until the torso is lifted, and then rolling the shoulders up, back and down. Shoulders melt down towards the back waist as the crown of the head. Inhale, we're going to reach the arms up. Gaze at the fingertips. Stay there. Shoulders melt away from the ears. And then either one foot at a time or inhaling both feet so the heels float up and you come to your tippy toes. Notice what happens with your balance. And then exhale the heels back down, bend the knees, shift the hips back as you lower into forward fold. Inhale, half lift, extend the spine. Exhale, deep bend in the knees, bring the fingertips to the floor, to the seat of a chair, or to some blocks, and start to lower your seat down in your mouth. Now, bending all the way down so that your heels are lifted and you're balancing on your toes is not a fit for any of the joints for whatever reason. Then you hang out more in a half squat instead. Otherwise, notice the balancing act of staying on your tippy toes and perhaps even hugging around the fronts of your knees. Gaze down at the floor, rounding the back up into angry cat. And then exhale to release the hands back down. Gaze goes forward towards the top of your mat as you start to walk yourself forward. You can lower the knees down, come through tabletop, and then walk all the way forward into a knees down plank, or float the knees up, coming into a full plank at the top of your mat. We're going to hold here for 2 cycles of breath, either knees down or knees up, pressing the heels back behind you to touch the wall behind you, thinking about squeezing the hamstrings and the quadriceps to hug the thigh bone. Take another inhale here. Exhale, you're going to shift the shoulders, the weight forward of the shoulders, and then squeeze the elbows all the way down. Inhaling, coming into just a baby cobra, bit of the back. Exhale to lower. Tuck the toes into the mat. Inhale, push the floor away, either staying in tabletop or exhaling into downward facing dog. Take a lengthened inhale here. Now, your left foot is going to be your support. You're going to inhale, release the right toes. Maybe they stay kickstand. Maybe you lift the toes about hip height. Perhaps you lift the toes up towards the ceiling. If you're bringing the leg up higher, notice if you can keep your collarbones parallel to the mat. If you'd like, you can bend that knee, bringing the knee up towards the ceiling. You can do this in tabletop as well. If you would like to come into flip the dog, you're going to inhale your gaze towards your hands. Exhale to pivot on the left foot so you can flip the hips up towards the ceiling, gaze up towards the hand. And then inhale the gaze back to your hand, flip it around, land both feet down on the mat and downward facing dog. Shifting forward, you're going to inhale to drop the right knee down to the mat. Now, we're going to pivot on that knee so that the foot comes back behind us. Your right hand is at center, left leg is lengthened, and left arm up to the ceiling, coming into a variation of side plank. You are welcome to stay right here. If you would like, you can push into that left foot and then extend the right leg out in front of you, coming into star pose. One more breath here. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. Bring the right leg back. Land in downward facing dog. And then gaze towards the hands. Inhale, step the right leg forward. Toes are pointing at me. Pivot your back foot down flat to the mat. Lift your torso, come up, both legs are extended to start, and then notice the angles of your ankles as we start to bend into that front knee, coming into Virabhadrasana to adjust the distance between your feet, adjust the angles of your ankles, so that as you bend down into that lunge on the front leg, you can encourage the knee to track over the second and third toe. You can encourage the hips to stay generally facing towards the long edge of the mat. Chest is lifted, tailbone is weighted and heavy, and the core is engaged. If you'd like, inhale to reach the arms forward, gaze over the front middle finger, and breathe here for 2 more cycles of breath. Encouraging that knee to not drop in. I'm noticing today, I'm saying that because I'm noticing mine's wanting to do that. Exhale to wrap that left hand around your low back. Bring the right elbow down towards the right knee. Think about really encouraging that chest to stay open to the long edge of your mat. Take another breath here in extended side angle. And then we're going to pivot on that back foot. Bring it to the ball mound of the back foot. Yep, just like so. Torso's coming towards the mat, and then drop it back. Just like that. You can keep your right elbow where it is, or draw it down inside that front leg. Now, as we go into any other variations, if your hips, pelvis, low back, knees, anything is saying no, I'd like you to just come back to a different variation that we've already passed through. Otherwise, you can draw the right hand to the outside of the right foot, or loop that elbow around and notice if the fingertips can touch behind you, coming into a bind. All of the other additional variations are just extra. You stay with whichever one you feel works best for you for one more breath. Exhale to unwind, release whatever you've got wrapped up. Your right toes stay pointing at me. Inhale to lift that back knee off the mat. Pivot the back foot down. Toes are out at an angle. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lift yourself up. This time, Virabhadrasana 1. So this time, we're generally encouraging our hips to stay towards the top of our mat. If you'd like, inhale to reach the arms up. Gaze towards the fingers. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, hands come to the hips. Pivot again to come to the ball mound of the back foot. Press off and step up to the top of the mat. Landing the left foot next to the right. Left foot now becomes your support. Soften the knee. Right foot is going to either kickstand with the heel against the left ankle or foot towards the inside of the shin or foot towards the inner thigh. If you're bringing the foot up higher on the thigh, think more about pushing the thigh into the foot rather than pushing the foot into the thigh. Trying to keep that hip and pelvis level. Keep the breath flowing, which will help with balance. Visualize that stream of white energy, pulling the tailbone down towards the floor as the crown of the head reaches to the ceiling. Move your branches in whichever way you'd like. So your arms can be on the hips, hands can come out to the side. You can wave your branches, which is also challenging for the balance. If you feel you really have a lock on the balance today, go ahead and close your eyes or one eye, just for a second or two. Notice what happens with your balance then. Exhale the hands to the hips. Release that foot. Take an inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, you're going to shoot the foot back behind you as you hinge forward over the front leg, coming into any variation of standing splits. So the right foot is up behind you, left knee is soft, crown of the head towards the floor. This time envisioning that white light pouring towards the floor, getting energy out from the earth. And then exhale, swing that leg forward, step it down next to the left foot. And fold. Inhale, hands to shins and extend the spine. Exhale, fold. And then you're going to bring the right hand to the left knee, left hand to the left hip. As you inhale to lift the torso, notice if you can bring that right foot up or left foot up with you. Hand on the knee. You're welcome to stay right here, or hand can come to the shin, ankle, foot, or toe. And then you can keep the leg bent, or you can kick the heel forward any amount. One more variation to release that left hand back behind you. Actually, sorry, there's one more variation beyond that. Option to slowly bring your gaze to that left thumb. One more breath here. Exhale, release it off. That was pretty intense. Shifting out, noticing what it feels from side to side. Noticing the heels, the toes, the feet. And then bringing stillness to the body, finding that grounding, noticing the bottoms of the feet, almost as if there's magnets between the feet and the foundation or the earth, or even that there's roots growing out of your feet down into the earth. And then stacking all of the joints, knees over ankles, hips over knees, shoulders over hips, and then that stream of energy lifting out the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. Blinking their eyes open on an inhale. Lift the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, soften the knees, hinge the hips back, come into forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees, lower those hands down, and this one you're going to step the feet back. You can lower the knees down right away, either into tabletop or a knees down plank, or you can keep the knees lifted. Hold again for 2 cycles of breath. Bottom front ribs pulling down towards the top of the pelvis, belly button towards the spine. Heels pushing energy back. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lower the chest between the arms all the way down to the floor. And then either that baby cobra, or if you'd like to extend up into high cobra, your version of a back extension. Exhale to lower down and tuck the toes into the mat. Inhale, you're going to either push the floor away and come into tabletop, or exhale to come into downward dog. Hold and breathe. Again, imagine that energy, this time inverting so that the tailbone now has energy pulling up towards the ceiling. Crown of the head has energy pulling down towards the earth. Shoulders out of the ears. This time, your left foot stays towards center. Sorry, your right foot stays towards center. You're going to inhale and lift the left foot. Toes can hover over the floor. You can bring the toes up to about hip height. Maybe you bring the toes up towards the ceiling, or bend the knee, angling the hip open, but keeping the collarbones more parallel to the mat. If you'd like to flip the dog, you're going to inhale, bring your gaze towards the hand, and then let the weight of the foot flip you around, hips up towards the ceiling. Gaze back towards your hand, exhale, flip it all around, and again, this time lifting that left foot up to the ceiling. Exhale the gaze towards your hand. You're going to pull that left foot forward, land the left foot at the top of the mat so toes are pointing at me, and then pivot the right foot down, lift yourself up. Legs are straightened to begin with, and then notice again what's happening with your ankles and feet. Hips generally towards the long edge of your mat, encouraging that left knee to bend over towards its second and third toe. And then if you'd like, arms reach out, gaze over that front middle finger, find your breath. Find spaces where you can release tension. Taking an inhale. You're going to draw that right hand back behind your low back. Left elbow is going to come down to the left thigh. And then extend so that the tailbone is reaching down towards that right heel. Energy lengthening out through the spine and out the front of the head. Here's that transition where we're going to pivot now onto the ball of the back foot. Turn the shoulders to face down to the mat, and then gently lower the back knee down. Nice. You can stay right where you are. Go ahead and drop the left hand inside the left foot. All the same variations as before, so if you'd like, you can bring that left hand around to the outside of the left foot. Hang out there. If you'd like to try the bind on this side, you're going to reach your elbow back and around, see if the fingertips want to touch around the outside of the hip on this side for one more breath. Exhale to unwind all that. Hands come inside the front foot. You're going to inhale to float that back knee up. Walk your left foot towards the center of your mat, and then drop the heel down of the back foot. Inhale, float yourself up. Coming into your variation of Virabhadrasana 1, so hands can stay on the hips, encouraging the hips to gently, without forcing, maybe move more towards the top edge of the mat. If you would like, you can reach the arms up, gaze towards the fingers. Notice what happens if you visualize in your mind the inner thigh of the left leg kind of spiraling out and the inner thigh of the right leg kind of spiraling out. So the thighs are kind of like spiraling away from each other. Take one more breath here. Exhale, hands to the hips, come to the ball mound of the back foot. Step it forward, land both feet at the top of your mat. This time, your right leg is your support, so you're going to soften that knee. Left knee comes out to the side, heel can be as a kickstand, or foot to the inside of the calf, or foot to the inside of the thigh. If you've got a wall, a pillar, a chair, anything near you, and you want to use that with one hand to help with balance, please do so. Otherwise, finding that gaze point about 6 to 8, maybe 12 feet in front of you. Breath is flowing to keep that center of gravity a little bit lower. And then that same idea, tailbone, energy down towards the earth, front of the head, energy floating up to the ceiling. Doing what you would like with your branches. Branches waving in the wind to help perhaps challenge your idea of what it is to be balanced today. And or closing one or both eyes, just briefly for a second or two. Keep the breath flowing. And then exhale, hands to the hips, release the foot. You're going to stay on that right foot as you start to kick the left foot up behind you. Hands come to either the seat of a chair, to some yoga blocks, or to the floor, coming into standing splits. Again, this is an inversion, so either energy from the tailbone now up to the ceiling, energy from the crown of the head down the inhale to prepare. Exhale, float that left foot, land it down next to the right, and come into your forward fold. Inhale, half lift and extend the spine. Exhale and fold. This time your left hand's coming over to the right knee, right hand to the right hip. Weight comes into the left foot. As you start to lift the torso, perhaps at the same time, the right toes can start to float up, bringing that knee to about hip height or so. You're welcome to stay in any of the variations you already have going, or you're going to bring the left hand down to the shin, ankle, foot, or toe. You can hang out there. Perhaps start to kick the right heel out in front of you. Doesn't mean fully extending the leg just as much as is good for you. And or extending right arm and hand behind you. And if you'd like, possibly bringing the gaze to that left thumb as you remind your shoulders to melt away from the ears. And exhale, release it all down. Circle out the ankles, shift side to side. Let's take an inhale, lift up. Exhale, soften the knees, come into your forward fold. And we're going to hang out here in ragdoll for a few breaths. So opposite hand to opposite elbow, letting the head hang, releasing tension out of the back of the neck, knees bent, an appropriate amount for your hamstring and low back. Side to side, breathe it out. Full inhale. Exhale to release the elbows, hands come down to the floor. Inhale, half lift, and start to toe heel your feet out to about the edges of the mat, toes maybe even off the mat a little bit. You're welcome to land the elbows on the thighs, staying in the half squat, or hands down inside and start to shift the hips lower, landing into Halasana. Do you happen to remember, did we do side plank on the second side?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Thank you. I don't remember doing
I
it.
mean, we didn't do it on the second side.
We did not do it on the second
No,
side?
just first side.
Glad I caught it now. We'll make sure we get that. Exhale, bringing the hands together to heart center. Maybe the elbows against the knees, knees against the elbows. And then release the hands down to the mat. Inhale, lift the hips up, hang in forward fold. Hands come down like starfish. You're going to step the feet back, either into full plank or knees down plank. Belly button towards the spine. And then this time, you're going to pull that left knee forward, landing the left knee at the center of your mat. Left hand comes to the center. Exhale. Is this the side you already did? I'm so sorry, Julie.
I don't remember.
You know what? I think it is. Sorry, everyone. We are actually going to take the right hand to the center,
Okay.
left knee out, and then turn like so. Lifting the arm up to the ceiling. Whatever side, if you can remember for yourself, whatever side you did the first time, you're going to do the other side this time. If you would like to stay here, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, you're going to push in to the back foot, slide that front foot out in front of you, and come into star pose. Exhale the gaze down to the floor, both hands down to the mat. Come into downward facing dog on an exhale. Take an inhale here. Exhale, lower the knees down to the mat. Tuck the toes into the mat, knees zipped together tight. Start to walk your hands back towards your knees, and then you're going to tuck the chin towards your chest and lower the crown of your head down towards the floor. Now, depending on a whole bunch of factors around joint mobility, the closer you can pull that forehead towards the knees and really round up the spine and lift the seat up towards the ceiling. You can keep the hands where you are or reach the hands back towards your feet. And then round the spine up. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, release. Bring the knees out wide as the mat, toes together to touch, and release the forehead down to the mat. Extend the arms long, child's pose. Inhale to float the head up, walk the hands back, push into the mat, lift the seat. You're going to walk the knees towards the center of the mat. You're going to still keep the knees wide. If you at home have any sort of blocks or props that you want to set between your heels, go ahead and do that now. We're going to move into either, I'm going to have you give you the option to come into a seated hero's pose where you're getting your seat down between the heels. If that's not a good fit for your knees, option to try one leg at a time, where one leg is extended out in front of you, the other leg is tucked back behind. Now, either with both knees bent or one knee bent, Gonna breathe here. Again, think about all of those joints that we talked about in the feet and how this isn't something that we normally allow our feet to do, and it's really, really good for them. If you can think about the toes pointing straight back behind you or thereabouts, doesn't have to be exact. And then the knees pointing straight out from the points of the pelvis. Keep that idea of the tailbone supported on the earth, drawing energy from the earth. That energy coming up through the spine, crown of the head lifted so that sternum's lifting towards the chin, shin parallel to the floor, bottom front ribs pulled down the pelvis. All of that engagement. If you would like to come into reclined hero's pose, it's pretty intense, especially if you have both knees bent. And bring the hands back behind you, fingertips pointing towards your seat, with the sternum up towards the ceiling. Perhaps bend into the elbows. Perhaps lower the elbows to the floor. Again, not a fit for everyone. You're going to pause where your body's asking you to pause. If you have one leg bent and the other leg extended, this would be a good time to do that switch. As you hold it, notice what sensations start to crop up. Listen to your body, so if the sensations are telling you it's had enough and you need to come out, let's do so. If it's sensations where your mind is saying it's not happy holding it so long, but breathe, focus, and the sensations that your body is sending you is spaciousness and openness. Take another breath here. And then as you exhale, hands come on either side of you. Help yourself up. Lift off your seat. Come forward into tabletop. And then swing your legs around behind you. Coming to your seat in any way that makes sense for you. And then finding a way to get down on your back, maybe using your legs for leverage, or maybe actually using it as a moment for just a little bit more core strengthening, or rolling over onto your side to get down on your back. Once you're on your back, feel it. Notice it. The heels maybe slightly closer to the seat. So as you press into the bottoms of the feet, you can float the hips up. Slide your hands underneath your sits bones and land your seat back down. And then inhale, one knee at a time, coming in towards the chest. As you exhale, extend the legs up towards the ceiling. Bottoms of the feet to the ceiling. Belly button towards the spine. Legs up the wall. As a method to downregulate your central nervous system, gauge your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. Legs up the wall, for most folks, a very useful option. I'm going to take an inhale, release the left hand from underneath the left hip, and then the right hand out from underneath the right hip. I'm going to reach the right arm up towards the ceiling. Bring the left leg towards the right hand. So it might land on the thigh, the knee, the shin, the ankle, anywhere. It does not matter. And then release the right foot down to the floor, knee up to the ceiling. Hold and breathe. If you are feeling the opening, the stretch along the hamstring, the IT band of the left leg, if there's pain in any of the joints or muscles, releasing it. And the knee does not have to be completely straight, and in fact, avoid locking it up. Take another inhale here. And then as you exhale, you're going to draw the left leg over to the right side. Allow that right knee to fall down to the floor. If keeping your bind either on the shin, the foot, the toe, anywhere is not feeling right, you're going to release the bind and bring that right hand to the outside of the left thigh as the chin comes over to the left shoulder. Gaze up to the ceiling. Inhale, bending that left knee and using the right hand to guide the left knee back to center. Right comes up with it and landing both feet. If you'd like to slide the hands under the hips for the second round, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, inhaling, you're going to float the right knee up and in, left, and then extend both legs up to the ceiling. If you did the hands under the hips the first time, but not this time, notice the sensation of really feeling the heavy weightedness above the, like, that's landing on the pelvis. So all the weight of the legs and the weight of that pressing the pelvis into the floor. Inhale, reach the left hand up. Bring the left hand and the right leg towards each other, so then the bind is going to happen anywhere that it feels right on this leg, which might be different than the first leg. Exhale to release that left foot down to the floor, knee up to the ceiling. And then hold and breathe. Take a full inhale. And then as you exhale, guiding that right leg over to the left side, left knee comes down. And again, same thing on this side. If keeping the bind is not a good fit on this side, you're going to release the bind. And eventually chin comes over to the right. See the bind. Bringing both feet to the floor, both knees up to the ceiling, chin back to center. Feet together. Hands are going to come to the outside of the thighs. And as you let the knees fall open, use the hands to gently guide the knees down so that the hip joint isn't taking the full weight of the legs falling over to the side. And then adjusting the feet any distance from the pelvis so that you can feel the support of a Supta Baddha Konasana, so this supine version of butterfly pose. And the hands either down on the floor or one hand on the heart, one. Bring your mind back to your anchor, whether that's your breath, the white light, or whatever intention you started with. focusing on unity, equanimity, connection. We're welcome to stay in the reclined butterfly pose for your final rest. Or you can extend the legs long. Come into whatever style of Shavasana, final rest that you like, either flat down on your back, fetal position, anything that works for you. Deepening the inhales and the exhales. Small movements and smaller digits of the body. Fingers and toes, letting that move wrists and ankles, elbows and knees, shoulders and hips. Long full body stretch if that feels good for you. And then an exhale either rolls you over to one side or perhaps rolls you up to seated, and whatever makes sense in your body. Making your way into a comfortable seated position. Into or offering Sahara Mudra, which is the 1,000-petaled lotus. So imagining that your hands are a lotus flower with the fingers being the petals spreading out from it. Holding that either at your waist or above the crown of your head. Notice your breath, or bring mind to your anchor. Bringing to mind a moment of gratitude for the benefits of the practice that were shared with us from the ancients. Then a moment of gratitude for yourself with the affirmation, I am not the fluctuations of my mind, nor am I the limitations of my body and experience. I am expansive. Take a lengthened inhale. Exhale to lower the chin towards the chest. Bring the hands to heart center. Shanti. My apologies for messing up that side plank. I know everybody loves side plank as one of the most important. And here we
That's the
missed
one
it.
I'm like scared to do the most.